Welcome to the No Problem Parenting Podcast. Turn behavior problems into no problem with Jackie Finneman. Are you ready to become the confident leader your kids crave you to be? Do you want to learn how to make parenting easier and more fulfilling? Whether you are at your wit's end or you want to have more fun as a parent, you're definitely in the right place. Now here's your host, Jackie Finneman.
Welcome back, No Problem Parents. Today we're going to talk all things chronic diseases in our children. Why in the world are we seeing such high rates of obesity and diabetes and high blood pressure in our kids? Well, my special guest today is going to help us tackle that and get to the root of what's going on. Rita Brewer pursued her passion for medicine by receiving a bachelor's degree in biology from the State University of New York, followed by the Weill Cornell Surgical Physician Assistant Program in Manhattan. Over the past 30 years, she has worked in hospitals, private practices, and outpatient clinics, specializing in internal medicine, surgery, weight loss, and integrative medicine. She is a distinguished fellow of the American Academy of Physician Assistants, certified diplomat of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and she is the founder and leader of the Healthy Lifestyles Ministry at Raleigh North Christian Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. After seeing thousands of patients suffering with preventable chronic diseases, her mission became educating, equipping, and empowering men and women around the world with the tools they need to reclaim their optimum health. Rita has a private virtual health coaching practice where she specializes in weight loss, blood sugar balancing, and chronic disease reversal. She creates customized programs for each individual client using lifestyle and functional medicine principles to transform their health. And you can learn more about Rita at ritabrewer.com. Welcome to the show, Rita. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my message with your audience. I've been enjoying listening to your podcast as well, because I'm
I appreciate
parent of a 16-year-old.
Oh, me too.
Well, I always knew from the time I was in elementary school that I wanted a career in medicine. I was just fascinated with the human body, and I wanted to learn everything about it that I could possibly learn and learn how to help people. So I had the privilege of, going to PA school. And like I said, I've been a PA for over 30 years and practicing multiple different specialties. And it's been wonderful. But really about, maybe 15 to 20 years into my career, and I've always been mostly hospital based with my practices. We just kept seeing the rates of chronic diseases just getting worse and worse, more obesity, more diabetes, more high blood pressure, more high cholesterol. And, healthcare workers, we're such dedicated people and working our butts off every day. And I'm like, I feel like we're on this hamster wheel, this treadmill. We're just busting our butts all day long to help people, but we're not really helping them. It's like all these chronic illnesses just keep growing and growing. And why are we not making headway? And it became so exhausting and overwhelming because, when you feel like you're working hard at a job, but you're not really making headway. I mean, surgery was rewarding, of course, because when people came in with an emergency situation and you could go in and you fix it and they wake up and they're so much better already, and that's one thing. But in internal medicine, where you just keep people coming back month after month, year after year with the same problems. And the only thing that we're really offering them is another prescription to add to the list. And I see it all the time. And it's so common for people, even in their 30s and 40s, to have a list of 10 prescription drugs that they take every single day. And this is not how we were designed to be and how we were designed to live. And when I relocated from New York to North Carolina for a warmer climate and a better lifestyle for myself, because after 20 years, I became a little burned out. So what am I going to do? I need something else. And I ended up working in a weight loss clinic. And I started to see, as people were losing weight, not only were they, happy and getting their confidence and their swag back, but their diabetes was being reversed. Their cholesterol was better. Their blood pressure was better. They were able to come off all these chronic medications. Their pain was better, and emotions were better. They were less depressed, less anxious. I mean, like the list of all these things just goes on and on and on. And when you change your lifestyle and what you're eating and how you're moving and how your stress and your sleep and your community and loving relationships, when we work on these lifestyle changes, everything was getting better. And I just said, gosh, this is where I want to be. I don't want to be a part of that model anymore, where the only thing I have to offer people, and it's just like, it's common for clinicians to see 25, 30 patients every single day. It's overwhelming. It's exhausting. It's just a poor system. It's a disease management system. It's not a healthcare system. So I wanted to work in a different way with people, to be able to have a better impact. So that's what I do now. I decided I can't stay in this model. There's not enough like lifestyle type clinics and integrative practices. We're growing a lot now. Functional medicine is growing more, which is wonderful. Lifestyle medicine is growing. It's like, but I'm 55. I can't keep waiting, for the healthcare system to change, because it takes 50 to 100 years for major system changes to happen. So I said, I want to work with people individually, help coach them, and teach them everything that I know and have learned over these years to help see them get better, and help people get off the prescription drugs, because most people don't want to take them. They just don't really feel like they have any other option, and they trust their clinicians. We're like the educated group, supposedly, who's had all this training. And if they tell us this is what the best thing is, then that's what we should do. But
Right.
in healthcare, we're not trained with nutrition at all. We're not trained in physical activity and strength training and, all these amazing, wonderful lifestyle things that really help us. So, yeah.
Wow. I just heard that not too long ago too, that I can't remember, is it like a class or maybe like a little piece of your training as a doctor is in nutrition and, healthy lifestyle, but really that's not
Oh, it's
the
minuscule.
foundation.
Yeah. Oh, it's minuscule. It literally could be some programs. It could be just a few hours. It could be a day or two, and that's it.
Wow, that's amazing to me.
Yeah,
it's confusing a
Right.
little bit and a bit concerning as well.
Right.
So let's talk today about. I have a question about obesity. We're seeing lots and lots of kids that really are obese. They're eating lots of processed foods, lots of quick meals. Parents are busy. So, I think a lot of it is unintentional from a parenting perspective, but we're just kind of racing out the door, getting kids to school, then to sports, stopping and picking up, a fast food meal, or, throwing Pop-Tarts in the car or whatever we have just to keep our kids fed. But the obesity rates are growing in adults and kids. So I always have this question though. Everybody kind of seems to me to have, they're born with like a size, or like some people are just genetically thin and others are genetically bigger. Some people say bigger boned, right? Or whatever, but is obesity genetic?
There is definitely a genetic component to it. However, what we're learning a lot now through the field of epigenetics is that we actually have the power to change our DNA when we make these lifestyle changes that will affect generations to come. So if you are one of those people right now, we feel like, I am obese, but my parents were, everybody in my family is, and well, number one, lifestyles are also very common, right? So if your parents are eating the bad food and then you're eating the bad food and the whole family is sedentary, that is getting passed down. Unhealthy lifestyles are getting passed down. But then, yes, it does affect your genetic makeup. But the awesome thing that we know now about this epigenetic field is that we have the power to change that. So if you were the first person in your family to start making these changes and adopt a healthy lifestyle, you are now improving your future generations, your children and their children. So that's the really exciting part. And that's what why I like sharing this message so much, because we have the power to change it. The lifestyle that we live has the power to alter our genes, our DNA.
Why are we seeing so many chronic diseases in kids like obesity, diabetes, high cholesterol?
It's a compilation of factors that have been building ever since like the 1980s. Because I mean, if you look at pictures of big groups of people back in the 70s, like nobody was obese, right? And sometimes these circulate on the internet. Like, look at the 1970s pictures of people, like mobs of people walking in big cities, and there's no one that's obese. And now it's the majority of the population. 70% of the United States population is overweight. I mean, that's the true pandemic in my eyes. And over 40% of adults are obese currently. And the really sad thing is that 19% or more of children are also obese. That's 14.4 million children are obese. And, from that age group of age 6 to 19, it's like 20 to 21% of these children are obese. So it's been this factor of, it started with the whole nutrition part of fat is bad. And that whole mindset and teaching that got, circulated all over the world and through the food industry was that fat is bad. So what they did, they start taking fat out of all the food products and they have to replace it with something else because the fat tastes good. And talking about good fats, I'm not talking about fried foods, but the fat has all been replaced with sugar. So since the 1980s. So, I mean, if you look at the curve of obesity and like the CDC statistics, it's just a continuous upswing and it continues to go up. And that's why I love sharing this message with so many people, because it's still climbing, and like I said, we're like one of the most advanced healthcare systems, as far as technology in the world, but our rates of, chronic diseases just keep going up and up and up. So we have not even started the downswing yet. So the food is huge. The sedentary lifestyles that we have adopted. Of course, the pandemic has made that a whole lot even worse. And the food industry is huge. There's a big, it's such a complex topic, but there's socioeconomic implications. There's, urban planning and development and, what's available to people. There's a lot of what they call food deserts all around the country where people don't have access to healthy food. Maybe they only have one of these little bodega type convenience stores, and that's where all they can get their food, and they don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. The way the food is processed and chemically altered and treated, and the amount of toxins that are in our environment that affects us as well. There's so much poison being put into our food. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about Quaker oats. I mean, how many kids in the world and adults I know every day are eating oatmeal for breakfast? And Quaker oats has been, one of the biggest companies that have had high rates of glyphosate in their oatmeal. What is glyphosate? It's the chemical compound that's in Roundup. So no one would ever even imagine, even think for a second to spray Roundup on the food that they're eating. But guess what? The farmers are doing it, and they're supported by the agricultural industry and the government subsidies that help them, farm this way, these monocrops. So gosh, there's so many factors that come into play. And I feel like most people don't really know what's going on. Like, we only see our food in the grocery store and we don't really know where it came from or how it was processed. So that's why I love talking about it. And because I feel like parents want to do well for their kids. We just don't always have the knowledge. So when we know better, we do better. And I think a lot of people are just kind of think, if I go into a grocery store, everything is in there, must be okay, right? It must be regulated by the FDA, so it must be all right. But it's really not. There's only a handful of major food corporations in the world that regulate all of the food that's coming, into our grocery stores. And they're all, they're in the pockets of, or the government is in the pockets of these subsidies. And there's a great book that talks all about this, which I totally geek out on. If your moms or you're interested in checking it out, it was one of Dr. Mark Hyman's books. It's called Food Fix. So he's like the big wig in functional medicine. He's written like probably at least a dozen books, but Food Fix is the one that really takes that deep dive into this food industry. And he's like, trying to be, one of the people on the lobby floors of this, the Senate, where all these food subsidies are being dished out and, trying to make a difference, in our government who's not really supporting healthy nutrition. It can be overwhelming, when you hear me talk about this stuff, like I don't want to try to overwhelm people, but I just want people to know kind of what we're dealing with and then just make one swap at a time. I mean, like any healthy behavior, we can't make tons of changes all at once. We can really only work on one change at a time. So I like to start with my clients. Well, first of all, finding out what their goals are, but just starting with a food journal of what you're currently eating, because people, have a hard time making, changes because we like what we like, right? So just show me what you're currently eating, and then let's just work on one thing at a time, one thing to educate you. I mean, like now that I told you about those Quaker oats, you're never going to want to eat them again, most likely, right? Because you know what's in them.
Right.
A close friend of mine who's also a colleague, her 2-year-old son was sick. And when she did deep dive functional medicine tests, and he had glyphosate toxicity in his brain, and he was only 2. Even these toxins, there's been studies that showed in umbilical cord blood that was tested right when the baby was born. They have been found over 200 different chemical compounds that was in this umbilical cord blood. So our babies are coming into the world already toxic because moms are toxic, right? So like one swap at a time. So we can talk about the food part and how to clean up that. Our beauty products are very toxic too, but there are healthy swaps. I have them all on my website too, because I think that's really important for people to know, and to also help you save the time to figure and not having to figure all that out. So like I have a beauty and makeup section on my website, food and supplements or snack ideas, and things like that, because I've done all this research for so many years to find these healthy products. Our cleaning products in our home are very toxic and loaded with chemicals, but it's really easy to, once we learn, okay, this is bad. And like what, as we do as moms, we go hard for our families and we go all in and we're like, this is what we're going to do. And hey, if you can afford to get rid of all the bad stuff all at once and replace everything, more power to you. But most people can't afford to do that, financially. So I just say make one swap at a time. Like if you look up your shampoo, and find out, that it's toxic, the next time you buy shampoo, make a healthier choice, or toothpaste, without the fluoride, and, the beauty products, your hair care, skin care products, your soaps, makeup, all of these things. There's so many things, even in our homes, the carpets and mattresses and furniture, the companies process them with all kinds of chemicals and flame retardants and all kinds of things which can be harmful to us. But, making those little swaps, buying from a healthier company, or opening up the windows and airing, your house out for 10 minutes every day, just because toxic chemicals build up in our homes. So yeah, there's so many things that we can do. So I basically just kind of unpack things with my clients one at a time. But like I said, I have a lot of stuff on my website on the shopping page that, so people can make those swaps right now. They don't have to be my client to see what those are, what's a healthier brand of lipstick and, different makeup and, things like that. My favorite soaps or shampoos. So there's a lot.
You mentioned the fat being replaced with sugar. So like good fats. Like I did not jump on the bandwagon when all the low fat things came out, low fat dressings for your
Ew.
salad. But even the fake sugars that, they'll say that this soda or this flavored water or whatever doesn't have any sugar in it. Well, it does. It's just not regular, natural sugar, right?
Yeah, it depends on the product. There's tons of artificial sweeteners out there, and those are not good for us either. So I always recommend things that are low in sugar or no sugar, but no artificial sweeteners or chemicals or genetically modified toxins and pesticides and things like that, which are all over the grocery stores, and people don't know it. And that's the sad thing.
And guilty as charged here. I am not a label reader a lot of the time. I will look for sugars sometimes, but if I really am hungry for something or want something, I buy it. And so guilty. Have not done the best job as a mom with that. I've heard if you can't read the labels and you don't understand what the word is, it's probably not good for you. But even like glyphosate, it's in a lot is stuff. And it is labeled. It is on the labels.
No, glyphosate is not going to be on the labels. And people don't know that it's Roundup either. People know Roundup. They know what that is and what we do with that. And we spray it on our weeds and our lawns and farms. And where does it go? I mean, it gets washed off and ends up in our water supply, right? So I cringe when I see people spraying, or the landscaper guys spraying these weed killers all over the place, because I mean, eventually it's coming back to us, right? So maybe my grass doesn't look as great as I would like it to because I refuse to use those weed killers, but it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I get down on my hands and knees and I pull weeds myself.
So glyphosate is not in the label. They don't want to put it, but how do we know what's in there then?
Just by reading and getting educated. I love the website called EWG.org. It stands for the Environmental Working Group. And this is a company that is actually working on behalf of the people to discover what's healthy and what's not. And they will evaluate your water supply. You can punch in your zip code and it'll tell you about toxins in your water. And that's why, I recommend a good water filter in your home, because the toxins are everywhere. And having a good water filter system, or even, just a countertop water filter, can make a big difference, and air filters as well. But they have on their website also the beauty section, and they have an app you could download that has a barcode. So you can scan all the beauty products and cleaning products that you have in your house, and it'll give you a rating. It tells you all the ingredients that are in it, and then it gives you a rating from 1 to 10, 1 being the most clean and healthy to 10 being the most toxic. That's how you can pick and find out where the healthy options are. Don't think you can scan food, but the thing that you want to look out for with food is the label that says is the USDA organic label. The other one says non-GMO verified. So if I do buy a cereal, it's got to be low in sugar and organic or non-GMO. They're not perfect. They will still, even some of the organic cereals will still have some level of, unfortunately, toxic chemicals or glyphosate, but it's better than the other ones, so it's healthier.
In reality, no matter how much we try to avoid it, we're putting toxins in every day, even when we're eating organic, like you say, because there's toxins in our soil, So what can we do to at least do our best to fight that off?
Yeah. So, well, I start with try to figure out where the toxins are so you can stop putting them in the first place.
Right.
Because a lot of people will do a detox, and then like as soon as it's over, they go back to eating fast food or drive-throughs, and you're just retoxifying yourself all over again. So I feel like, well, why do you want to put yourself all that? Because it's not easy to do a detox, right? It's stressful. It's very challenging. You can feel like crap. So the best thing is to not start putting that stuff back in. But like you said, I mean, it is everywhere. So for me, with my clients, it has to go, I go by what their symptoms are. what is going on? What are the symptoms that you're having? Have we already made all these healthy swaps with your food and your household products and you're still feeling bad? And then that's where I love functional medicine, because we can do more like deep dive into looking at toxin levels. Do you have mold toxicity? Do you have all these environmental chemicals? I have changed over my household products years ago, but when I still have had my, chemical toxins tested, I still had a lot of environmental, like pollution type chemicals in my body. These toxins get stored in our body fat. And now we're obese and overweight, so we have more body fat. So there's more room to store these toxins, and it can make it more difficult to lose the weight as well. So most people start feeling better in the short term when they start making these changes, just eating better quality food or getting better sleep and lowering their stress. But then when it's not enough, you need to take a deeper dive and say, okay, let's look at your vitamin and mineral and nutrient levels, all those things that we would love to know that our conventional medical practices don't test for. So see, am I deficient in magnesium or potassium and calcium, and what supplements do I need to realize, or what foods can I add? So we can look at those things on a deeper level, and then determine based on, what those toxins are, what's the best, treatment plan to go ahead with. I customize my programs for each individual. We do a really deep dive into not just your health and medical history, but lifestyle history as well. And then we see what your goals are. I love working with people who want to lose weight and helping people reverse those chronic diseases, because I love to help people get off of their medications, because type 2 diabetes is completely preventable and reversible. And the rates of diabetes are astronomical in all around the world now. So in the pediatric community now, practitioners are having to deal with learning how to treat childhood heart disease, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure. These were never, ever pediatric illnesses before, but now they are. And pediatric practitioners have to learn how to treat and manage these conditions now in children. It breaks my heart that we're, hearing now about, even in bariatric surgery centers where they have pediatric weight loss programs, where they're doing now bariatric surgery in children. And to me, it's so heartbreaking. And I feel like it's criminal. There's so many better options out there, but this is just the system of healthcare that we currently have. And until we start shifting, that's why I love talking to the moms, right? Because the moms, we're not afraid to go outside of the box, right? Like, well, this is the way the conventional system is, but when it doesn't work for your kid and your family, you're going to go outside that system and find what works. Making those changes little by little, one thing at a time, in your home, in your lifestyle, the way you live with your kids. And, don't let them sit in front of the TV for 2 to 4 hours a day like the rest of the population is doing, and limiting their screen times, because we know it's not good for them. It's not good for their brain. There's, electromagnetic radiation that's emitted from every device that we're on. And we have to set boundaries. And who's going to do that better than the moms? Nobody. So if I share the information with the moms will just take charge like we always do.
Well, Rita, thank you so much for being here today. You're a wealth of information. You have so much more on your website. So I encourage everybody to go out to ritabrewer.com. They can also follow you on Facebook and Instagram at Rita Brewer Consulting. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you sharing all your knowledge with our listeners.
I appreciate you so much for having me. And I just want to see everybody prosper and health. That's my mission.
Thank you for tuning in to the No Problem Parenting Podcast. Join Jackie next time for more tips, tools, and resources that will help you become the confident leader your kids crave you to be. Who do you know that we could support on their parenting journey? Like this podcast, subscribe, share, or leave a review of the show. Your support of the No Problem Parenting Podcast pays it forward and helps us help more families.